Hello, my Teaser King family. Okay.
Closed flights, but opened heart.
If I had to use one word to describe my experience at Harvard Business School online, it would
How is everybody today? I am fine. I was just listening to As Good as Gold Australia, and this Lynette Zhang's on, and she's a Keynesian. And she's clueless. Okay, so start listening to As Good as Gold Australia because Lynette Zhang's on, and I don't like her. She's a Keynesian, doesn't know really what she's talking about, but she does understand that you should own gold, which big deal. Everybody knows that. And I want to point out a few things of what she says because, as you know, I get frustrated listening to these idiots because they're telling things that aren't true, or it's over their head and they don't know it, but they've heard it. So let's listen to 2 minutes of this idiot.
Besides the absolute mismanagement of fiat currency, it's been doing that for 5,000 years, and it will continue to do so now, probably at a more alarming rate than we've been used to. But that was his expectation, and I think just falls in line perfectly with what Lynette's just said.
Here's the other thing that to me is like so critically important that people understand. You know, we talk about inflation. So, okay, the CPI data in the US or anywhere else is running hotter. Inflation is stickier. Well, yes, it is. But therefore, the central banks can't lower their interest rates. And so they'll use that as an excuse to push down the visible price, the paper price of gold, right?
Yeah.
When the reality is, I mean, that's just a trading excuse. It doesn't really even make any sense because when I look at the monetary velocity, so how quickly this stuff changes hands, right? What I'm seeing has me extremely alarmed because that monetary velocity is spiking in a pervasive way.
Okay, so what the fuck is she talking about? I don't know. I don't know what velocity is. It's a Keynesian term. It's not an Austrian. Do I ever mention velocity? So this proves that she's a Keynesian, right? She doesn't understand. She thinks inflation's CPI. It's not. She thinks hyperinflation's here. It's not. Hyperinflation is when you run to the store to buy things before the price goes up because you're afraid. That's what hyperinflation is. It's when you realize the Titanic is sinking is hyperinflation. So she doesn't understand what hyperinflation is. She throws out this velocity term, which is a Keynesian term, which who gives a fuck how fast that the money changes hands. That's not material. It's how much money you've printed is the problem with inflation. Oh my God, you've printed. The value of it's gone. And when nobody wants it anymore, it's out. And that's what's happening with all the brick stuff. Then she talks about the Fed keeping the price of gold down. They don't do that. COMEX does that. They do it because they want to keep you in the Ponzi scheme of the dollar and the banks and Wall Street. That's why gold is kept down. It's got nothing to do with, it shows the dollar values down. It has nothing to do with that. Gold is totally independent of the dollar. It's a safe haven that if you realize the dollar is out, you need money. And gold and silver are money. But even if the dollar was strong, you'd still need money. As soon as you realize that the dollar's not backed by gold, you need gold. All right. At that point, 1971, you need gold at that point. Not, oh wait, the dollar is falling in value, I better buy gold. No, that as soon as you don't back your dollar by gold, you need gold. Period. Velocity is absolutely meaningless. We are not in hyperinflation. What the fuck is this woman talking about? So, of course, here's my comment, as I always share it with you. So you know that I say what I think. She's a Keynesian, doesn't understand paper versus physical gold, COMEX, or what hyperinflation is. Shake my head. The professor knows this. The professor knows this. He's an Austrian. So if I read some of her comments, oh, awesome. Oh, she's good. She can make it. You guys are inspiring. Oh, love, good as gold. Oh, what a bunch of kiss asses. Wow, quite a year planned. Brilliant. So they're going to have all these stupid guests on. So this is my problem. You have this woman who they sit there and worship for some reason, just like they do Andy Scheckman or any of these other morons. Matt Pfeifenberg is fucking clueless. They come across as, look how smart I am, yet they don't know anything. And they'll say the narrative, oh, buy gold. Well, yeah, Andy Scheckman sells gold, so of course he's going to say it. Peter Schiff. So they want to come across like they're intelligent for some reason, but they don't know what they're talking about. Even that Batman guy who did the Big Short tries to come across like he figured it out, only by explaining how he figured it out means he didn't know. It was in 1997 when Clinton said, we're going to allow mortgages to anybody, and you have to accept it. So he lowered the standards of bank lending money to people without good credit or good work. That's what created it in 1997. So you know this is coming from as soon as Clinton signs this bill, you know it's coming. You don't have to read statistics to figure out that these loans are bad. The loans are bad right away. As soon as these people who have bad credit are signing the loans, all over. So he figures out what? Oh yeah, they're not all AAA. Well, I could have told you that in 1997. You're just figuring out in 2007. And you want to take credit for figuring out that these loans are bad when you should have known it when Clinton signed the bill. So he doesn't know what did he figure out? That the loans were bad, which we would have already known. I already knew that. I knew that as soon as Clinton said it, because I think stoically, which is A happens, what does that mean? The boat hit the iceberg, it's going to sink. Clinton lowers the restrictions on mortgage loans to anybody. What's that going to happen? You're going to have defaults. It's very simple. So hyperinflation is when the prices go up faster than the money gets printed, and it's hyper is fear of the people running to the grocery store to buy the goods before the prices go up. That is not happening yet. I do it because I know what's coming, so I run and buy meat and put it in the freezer. But even that, the prices haven't gone up yet. There's no hyperinflation. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Velocity, how fast the money changes hands, you have no way of knowing that. Plus, it doesn't matter. It's all about how many dollars are you printing. So what she's saying is, okay, they printed them all, but they're not all in circulation. So it doesn't matter. If you printed $10 trillion, that's the inflation, and you can't measure it by CPI. That's the point I was making with the 71. So let me just quickly do that, and then I'm going to go back to my prices.
So, look, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
Yes.
I don't know anything.
Yes.
But the reality is I do believe without a doubt in my mind that the hyperinflation that we've been talking about has already begun.
No.
And that, yeah, this inflation will prove stickier. Yeah, like flypaper sticky. You're not getting rid of it, period, end of discussion. And
However,
so people need to have the physical metals in their possession, because when that happens, it's like slow, then boom, fast.
It's Justin from Cleveland's Closet.
What a great explanation. Boom, 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 fast.
That's not my problem.
Boom, fast.
See, this is where I have a problem. She can't explain it. Boom, 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 fast. What does that mean? Doesn't mean anything. Hyperinflation's not here because the prices aren't going up faster and faster and faster. Inflation is not measured by CPI. And basically, the question initially was, why aren't gold prices going up? Because they're controlled by COMEX, which she didn't say. And she doesn't even understand the banks control the government. So she makes a comment that banks could buy derivatives in 1965, which I don't know. The public couldn't own gold until 1972. And she's saying, oh, the banks are doing these derivatives in 64, 65. I have no idea. And they're doing them now, and they'll keep doing them until they now have to have gold, and the gold will be running out, and then here to buy it all and have their own gold-backed currency, and that's the end of it. So she doesn't get it. She says hyperinflation here, but she doesn't know what it is. It's high inflation. No, it's not. Sorry. High inflation is high inflation. Hyperinflation is prices going up. Zimbabwe, Venezuela is hyperinflating because their prices, you can't buy anything because they're so expensive. And what they need to do is come out with new money. So she doesn't get it. And the velocity means nothing. It's just how much money have you printed? It's not like the money just sits there. You still printed it. It still hurt the value of it. But gold is being kept down by, like they keep thinking, oh, now gold will go up. Now gold will go up. Gold ain't doing shit until COMEX blows up by brics. And we get a physical price, not the paper price. That's all it is. Very simple. Gold won't and can't go up because they keep doing derivatives. It's as simple as that. Oh, maybe now it'll hit 3,000. It will hit when we get rid of derivatives. That's going to happen soon because it can't keep going. See, when you listen to Mark McGuire or Alligator or Egon, they get it, right? And they explain it like that. This woman has no credibility with me. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She can't explain it. Oh, hyperinflation's here. She doesn't define hyperinflation. Where are you seeing hyperinflation? At where? What are you, not at the grocery store? Prices are up on certain things that the market allows, but not. I mean, the Coca-Cola went up to $2.89, $2.99. It didn't go to $10. That's hyperinflation. Hyperinflation is you go buy milk and eggs, and the eggs are like $3, and then it goes to $5, and then $10, and then $20. That's hyperinflation. I give you an example and a definition, not like this woman who can't do that. She can't explain what the fuck she's talking about, which is the problem with Scheckman and Maloney and all these guys. They'll mumble around, they'll use words that sound important, but they can't explain. This is why you have the professor. And this is why I get frustrated with this. So it's very hard for me to listen to this. I did it for you guys because I wanted to hear her explanation on what hyperinflation is. All right, let's listen to a few more minutes. And I know it's hard.
Brings me to the point too. Alistair McLeod mentions this a number of times that gold is not supposed to go up with interest rates because if interest rates are high, gold goes down. But you have a look at the 70s. And the interest rates in the US went to.
Okay, why would that be? Why would interest rates go up, gold goes down? Why are they even related? Money not backed by gold is worthless. Whatever inflation does, whatever interest rates do, it's all inflation because they're printing it and printing it. And this is the problem. And the fact that gold goes up and down is again by COMEX. Because you don't have a physical market, everything you say about what gold did or didn't do in 2008 or 2000 or tomorrow is meaningless because it's all derivative gold. It's paper gold. Paper gold's meaningless. Yet they keep talking about, you think gold will go over, we'll finally bust through 2000. It will once COMEX gets blown up by brics. It's very simple. BRICS blows it up, a gold-backed currency blows it up, gold for oil blows it up. Putin blows it up because then they can't use paper gold anymore if they have physical gold selling at 3,000 and they, so, okay.
At 18%, and gold went from $100 to $800 an ounce, in a period from 1976 to 1980. So I think we can look forward to some similar reaction. Yeah.
Let's talk about that period for just a second. And I mean, I'm sorry if I'm taking you off of the questions, but I think, you have to understand that people in the U.S. could not hold more than 5 ounces of gold during that period of time. But interestingly enough, I believe it was either 1964 or 1965, suddenly and miraculously, and why? You could hold gold contracts again. Now, the general public was not aware that you could do this. So the general public did not participate in this. But the guys that are making the rules and the laws and all of these products, they knew that things were going to change. And so even though in the 60s and in the very early 70s, you couldn't convert it into the physical metal, those that were in power, that write the laws, that actually understood what was going on, they accumulated these gold contracts that they could buy very cheaply, maybe based on $100 an ounce, or maybe even based on $35 an ounce, which was the official gold price back then, right? Yep. And to your point, then gold went up to $825 intraday.
All right, so she doesn't even know that the banks run the government, right? Whoever writes the laws, and that's the banks. JP Morgans and the Wells Fargo and the Goldman Sachs run the government, write the laws. So what she's trying to say is that they were able to do derivatives in 1965. Were there even derivatives set up in 1965? I doubt it. There's no algorithms in 1965. There's no computers. So she makes a statement that I don't believe, and I don't get what the point is, right? There's no point to the statement that the banks were able to buy gold contracts. Why wouldn't the banks just buy gold? Again, you want physical gold. You don't want paper gold. That's the very simple point. So I don't know what the point she's making here.
Pretty quickly, once they started to untether gold from its tether. And
tether.
Don't you think that's interesting?
No.
I mean, I just find it kind of like, why did you suddenly have these gold contracts when they were illegal for so long? And hey, that was the 60s. So it was illegal, but all of a sudden there are these gold contracts.
Oh, you mean things are corrupt? What an idiot.
Yes, the financial people have wondrous ways of being able to have things under control until they don't, until they can't have it under control. And that's when the people start to recognize that confidence in their money system is lacking very badly. Darryl, did you?
Yeah. I do want to. All the comments here are extremely valid. I'm really interested to know what Lynette thinks about silver, where silver's heading.
I can't wait for this.
It's 90-1 ratio to gold at the moment. It's ridiculous. But the crazy thing about this is, and what we've got to look at this historically as well. Since 1971, it's gone out over 80-1 on 6 occasions. The interesting thing about all of this is that on every single one of those occasions, and I'm a great avid supporter of history, right? Learn a lot from it. On every single one of those occasions, it's closed in to around 40-1. So it's going to do it the 7th time. No question at all about that.
Why?
Grady has this to say. Despite extreme pessimism, silver is coiling up for an upside explosion.
Why?
Like never before. As Grady states, confirming from the charts, this is the mother of all very probable cup and handles. The bigger the base,
technical.
the bigger in space. This is where it's going to the moon. Right. So I'd like your thoughts on that, Lynette, if you could, please.
Well, I looked at the spot price of silver shortly before I came in for this interview, and it was in US $22 and change. I mean, that's laughable.
Yeah.
That's laughable. The premiums on silver is ridiculous because where gold is recoverable, silver is not recoverable. So we're using up the limited supply of silver that we have here. So I would agree 100% that the cup formation, that base, that accumulation that it's building is the mother of all. But where I always kind of veer, because if you're thinking of it in terms of dollars, let's say it goes back to 40-1, or even goes to 20-1, or whatever it might go to. When that does indeed happen, I think there's going to be a greater awareness, and you're not going to want to convert it into this garbage that buys you absolutely nothing. And, that's where I think that a lot of people kind of misunderstand what's really happening in here, because it's not gold or silver going up in terms of this. If you convert it.
Okay, again, it's not this, it's that. Okay, so again, clueless. First of all, it's all based on COMEX. They write the contracts, they do the derivatives, they keep the silver price and the gold price down. It's the same thing. It'll only go up once BRICS blows up COMEX or Russia. That's when it goes up, because they can keep writing these derivatives, especially on silver. It's different than gold. It's not a tier 1 asset. So what it is, it's not gold going up and the dollar going down and bullshit. The dollar is worthless. So if silver was going to go up, the dollar's worthless. It would have went up already on those terms. It goes up when COMEX blows up, and COMEX can't control it. So they don't understand why it's low or what would make it go high. Their explanation is bullshit. What kind of explanation is that? Well, 8 times it's been 80-1 and went to 40-1. Whippy. What would make it do this time? That's like saying, well, New England is a great dog. Yeah, but that was when Tom Brady was there. He ain't there anymore. So you can't go back to the New England stats with Tom Brady there when he's not there, right? Or Indy with Peyton Manning, or Denver with Peyton Manning, or New Orleans with Drew Brees, they're gone. You can't go back to their stats. So we know it's held down by derivatives. It's not a secret. We understand that. We understand that we want a physical market in gold and silver. We understand BRICS will give us a physical market in gold and silver. Silver is, we don't give a fuck if it's used to make batteries or cell phones or anything. We look at it as money. Silver is money like gold is money. That's how we view it. And we need a money, we need a physical, let's just say this is silver. Love the Stardust. This is silver. We need a physical price for it. We need a physical exchange for it. We need to blow up COMEX. And I believe that's what BRICS is doing, and that's what Putin will do. When the gold goes up, the silver goes up. They won't be able to hold it down. The fact that it's 50 to 1, 90 to 1, 100 to 1 doesn't matter because it's not priced at physical. It's all done by derivatives. It doesn't matter about velocity. It doesn't matter the value of the dollar. Shut the fuck up. I'm busy. The point of the dollar is immaterial, right? The value of the dollar is zero now. She just said it's junk. Well, wait a minute. If the dollar goes down, silver and gold go up. When the dollar goes down, where can the dollar go? It's already worthless. Your comment makes no sense to me. Where's it going? It's zero now, and silver's at $25 an ounce. So where are we going with this? She can't answer that because she doesn't know. Everybody loves her because she says, buy gold, buy silver. Oh, velocity. Oh, you're a Keynesian. Or you just don't know what you are. You just aren't an Austrian because we don't use the term. You've never heard me use the term. I don't believe it's in my notes. Anything about velocity. I'll read my notes thoroughly, my whole notebook here. We didn't have a textbook. We had books to read, the Adam Smith book, and then he gave us notes. That's the way the class worked. I had to read like 7 or 8 books, and it would like prove Austrian economics. But I don't recall anything that had anything to do with velocity. It's probably MMT, which is Keynesian. And what does it matter? How many times it changes hands? What is that? What does that mean? What is that? That doesn't mean anything. So I go buy gas. Well, first of all, I'm using my debit card to buy gas, or go to the grocery store to buy. I need half and half for my eggs, or I need to buy eggs, or I need to buy a pita bread, or whatever I need to buy. I'm using my debit card. And then it goes to the grocery store, and the grocery store goes and does what with it? They go to the bank and say, here, I'd like to deposit this. So it really doesn't make any sense. The velocity, it's not like how it used to be, where I would use money to go to the grocery store, and then they'd hand it out in change, and then they'd hand it out at the restaurant, and it doesn't work like that. It's all electric money, the debit card and the credit card, but it really doesn't matter velocity. It's how much money's printed. It has nothing to do with the CPI, because you can't even calculate the CPI. So let me go into my little thing here. All right, so let's look at prices, shall we? Where did I write those out? I had them written out. Okay. All right, I'll go back to YouTube. Be careful that I don't close it. Okay. So I did 6 different products. Fuck, I got to go back. What I wanted, I got the prices. I don't have the percentage. So let's do 6. I did 8. So oil at the gas station's up 775% since 1971. It was 40 cents. Now it's $3.50 roughly. Increase of $3.10 or 775%. The barrel of oil went from 317 to 76, up $72 a barrel, 2,297%. Bread went from a quarter to $3, up $2.80, 1,100%. Pepsi was a dime, is now $2.50 for a can, 2,400%. A house went from 25 grand to 450 grand, 1,700%. A car from 4,000 to roughly 30,000, 650%. Gold from 37 to 2050, 5,441%. And silver from $1.50 to 25, up 1,500%. So how do you do CPI? I got 775, 2297, 1100, 2400, 1700, 650, 5,441 for gold, and 1567 for silver. How the fuck do I do CPI? And this is my whole point. There's eight different products with 8 different percentages. So how do you measure based on the CPI what the fuck's going on? It's impossible. You really can't. So why would you measure inflation by CPI? If I measure it in gold, it's 5,000%. But silver is only 1,500%. So again, that's not how you measure it. You measure it by how many dollars you printed. So I don't know what printed in 1971, but I know it's at least, well, actually it's like 150 trillion, but 130 trillion is outside of the US. So you're printing it, it goes outside of the US, so they can then buy Swiss francs, buy the US, and then buy euros. So that's confusing enough to figure out what is going on with it. However, you can't measure CPI, inflation with CPI. All we know is the dollar's down to nothing. Why would gold and silver? It's gold and silver. It's not gold and silver going up. What she's referring to is it's still an ounce of gold and an ounce of silver is what she's referring to. The size of the ounce hasn't changed. It is gold and silver going up, clearly. Silver's $25 an ounce. If silver goes to $100 an ounce, that's the price of silver going up, because the price of silver shouldn't be $25 an ounce. Now it's price fixed by COMEX and derivatives. She doesn't understand that. So she's going to say silver will go up, but she won't give an explanation. Let's hear a little bit more if she actually gets some sort of explanation.
It's not stocks and bonds or anything else that you can only convert into this. And that's the difference between, say, stocks and bonds and, say, gold and silver, right? If what you're holding you can only convert into government money, and the government money, like in Zimbabwe, nobody wants it, they don't trust it. It doesn't matter what happens with the ratios or the spot price or any of that. With gold and silver, since they're money without anybody dictating that they're money, and they are, and there's lots of historic precedents, but again, going back to its usage, what's more important to me is how I'm going to be able to physically use these myself as a tool of barter when we enter that hyperinflationary depression. Because at that point,
it's not barter, they're money.
They want this.
When I found out what these symbols really mean, I almost stopped recycling. These tiny symbols you see.
This, they want this.
So what was the silver price? So what did she say is, first of all, there's no barter. You're not bartering gold and silver. It is money. And again, we have to go back to it's a medium of exchange. She doesn't even understand that concept. So the medium of exchange says law. We go to work to earn money, and then we the money's the medium of exchange. What do we want? And then we buy things with the medium of exchange. So therefore, the supply of money can, if it goes to gold and silver, that's the medium of exchange. So you go to work, you get paid in gold and silver, and you buy things with gold and silver. It's not a barter. Barter would be, I'll trade you the Mahomes car for your car. So here's that's a barter because it's not a medium of exchange. But as long as money, gold and silver will be the medium of exchange, which they're clueless about. So that's where I critique these people where they're giving you bad information. She's all excited about hyperinflation, yet she doesn't explain it, and she's not right. There is no hyperinflation now. You'll know it. It's when everybody tries to get off the boat at the same time onto the lifeboat, and there's a frenzy. That's what hyperinflation is. We are not there. Prices are going up by the day. So if you go, buy a milk and it's $2 now, and you go back tonight and it's $3, and you go tomorrow and it's $6, and then you go back the next day and it's $10, that's what hyperinflation is. It's the frenzy of the people buying before the price keeps going up, and the price keeps going up. That's not what's happening now. Doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. Velocity, don't know what the fuck she's talking about. Gold going up only when the dollar goes down, don't know what the fuck she's talking about, because the dollar's at zero. So by her definition, gold and silver can't go up anymore because the dollar's zero. Yet it's COMEX keeping it down. So once we hit a physical price and a physical value of the gold and silver, then we know what it's at. And then we don't have a physical market for gold and silver yet. It should be coming with BRICS. That's your answer, but she doesn't answer it because she doesn't know. She doesn't know that the banks run the government. So she's very naive, but she, we're in hyperinflation. It's like, oh, the sky is red. Well, if I say it like that, then people will believe me because I was excited when I say it. And this is where you really got to be careful. People like this, who's a Keynesian, who doesn't know what they are, she doesn't know she's a Keynesian. She'll mention velocity without really knowing what it is. I don't know if what is the velocity of money that comes out. I'm not sure that comes out, right? Is there if I Googled what is the velocity of money, can I even find it? And if I can I even trust what it is that it's real? Oh, this is the velocity of money. This is what it really is. And that's my point. I'm not quite sure that I believe, what she's saying. It doesn't make sense. And she can't explain any of it. So when a person can't explain what they're talking about because they don't know, they've heard some terms, and Andy Schechtman's good at that, and Rick Rude and all these guys. Rick Rude can't explain anything. I don't even know what he's talking about. Andy Schechtman hears a word but doesn't know what it is and can't explain it. So they leave you going, what did he just say? Rick Rude's the best at it. He'll talk in riddles. You don't know. Mark McGuire talks in riddles sometimes, where the ring fence and the casino, and you're like, what are you talking about? Then he has a guest come on and he kind of explains it to the guest, and you're like, well, why aren't you explaining it to us what the fuck you're talking about? And he gets off on a tangent on the ring fence this and the casino that, and COMEX this and that. And again, the question is, when's it going to blow up? When are we getting tired of being price fixed? When is this going to end? We all know it's illegal, and yet nobody does anything because it's all fixed because the banks are on the government. So who's going to say it's illegal? The banks aren't going to kill themselves, right? They're not going to chop the hand that feeds them, right? So they're going to keep it going because they obviously must make some money on on shorting gold and then buying the long and making $5 on it. I don't think it's very profitable. I think it would be a lot more profitable if you just buy gold and let the price go up, because you can't lose. Anyway, it all comes down to BRICS blowing it up. As soon as BRICS goes, and we know there's 32,000 tons in Russia, probably not at the central bank, because Putin probably has it in his vault in his house. I mean, it's not in the central bank. And same thing with China's got 60,000. So there's 100,000 between them. Sometimes they say 60,000. They don't know what they're talking about. Well, there's 60,000 between Russia and China. No, China's got 60,000 when it includes the citizens' money and these shadow banks and all the other stuff that Alligator talks about. And Russia's got 32,000 when you include the central bank and the banks, the regular banks, and Putin's basement and everything else. There's 32,000 tons. There's 100,000 tons between them. So they have enough, but it really comes down to when there's a gold standard, and that the U.S. has been fighting it for years. Saddam Hussein, Gaddafi, they killed them for trying. Imagine, I want to go to a gold standard. Oh, we got to kill this guy. We can't have that. And then they'll see that our money is worthless. And we got to play a Ponzi scheme with our money and keep all of our Americans in the banks and Wall Street Ponzi scheme, which is exactly what happens. I mean, it's just, this is why they keep people stupid. And I know Greg and John asked me, why are people stupid or whatever he says. And that's why, if you really know what's going on, you would never be in the stock market or in a bank. You would do precisely what we're saying, is buying gold and silver, because you can't lose. You can't be the guy from Attack on Wall Street with the 60,000, and you said it was no risk, and I'm going to get 8%. Well, we were told there's no risk on it, but you know what? You lost all your 60,000, and you lost your house, and your wife killed herself because we fucked you, because we Ponzi schemed you, and you lost all your money. How could you lose all your money? Oh, well, they made all the real estate trusts zero. They sold them all at zero and then took your money. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I really trust Wall Street and the banks. Keep doing that. So that's what happens. So you've got to be very careful with that. That's why you buy gold and silver. You can't fuck. If you got the physical gold and silver, this is gold, remember, and this is silver. So if you've got it, if you have it in your hands, not in an ETF and not in a stock, not in an IRA, you have to have it in your hands. God, I hate this is backwards. You have to have it in your hands. If you have it in your hands, they can't do anything to it. They can't take it. They can't tax it. The only way they can tax it is when you sell it. But why in God's name would you want to sell it for this? The only reason is if you have some sort of rent or something and you have no money, then you cash it in really to pay rent. Okay, that makes perfect sense. And I believe that's what's happening. When the guy gets gold at the coin store, it's for people to eat and pay rent with. It's older people who have gold. Let's face it, the young people either can't afford it or are in Bitcoin like a bunch of idiots because they don't know. They're trying. See, this is when you have no knowledge. You buy Bitcoin because we don't know what it is. It's certainly not money. It's certainly not gold. So you buy it and hope it goes up. Oh, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'll buy Bitcoin. Well, you have a better chance being a millionaire buying gold. And guess what? You can't lose in gold. I don't know what it is with what's going on in the last couple of years with go for it on fourth down. They only say to go for it. They don't say if you miss it, you lose the game. Go for 2 when you're down 14. They don't say if you miss it, now you're fucked because now you're down 8 points instead of 7 where you could tie it up with an extra point. They don't tell you, buy Bitcoin, put your money in the stock market so you can watch it go to zero and buy Bitcoin because you could get rich, and they don't say, but you could go to zero because it really isn't anything. So people aren't being told the whole story. I buy Bitcoin because I want to be a millionaire. Well, how about if it goes to zero? Well, yeah, no, they didn't say that. I don't believe that. I'll buy Amazon stock. It's going to go to, I'm going to be a millionaire. What if it goes to zero when all the foreigners start selling their stocks because they got their money in US dollars and they realize the US dollar is worthless. So they want to get out of US dollars. See, right now, US dollars is the safe haven because it's perceived as the universal money or whatever the fuck it's called, the reserve currency. So therefore they go, well, I got €1 million, but I don't trust the euro system, so I'm going to put it in US dollars. Or I have like this guy in Argentina, well, we're going to make the US dollar our currency. Why? US dollar's got no value. So we understand it's got no value, which means that Pepsi went from 10 cents to $2.50. Well, wait a minute. If the currency was gold, it would have went from 10 cents to 10 cents. If gold was the currency, the house would go from 25,000 to 25,000. So I need to do that analysis. What was a house in 1944 to a house in 1971? That's really the analysis to do, because that'll show you there's no variance at all because you had gold. And I'll do that. Let me do that now. Let's have some fun. So I know what the prices are in 71. So all I got to do is house prices. And let's do 1945. How much housing prices have risen since 1940? In 1940, they were 30,600. And in 1971, they're 25,000. So they went down. In 1940, the median home value in the U.S. was just, it was $29.38. In 1980, it was $47.2. It had risen, even as for inflation, the median house in 1940 would have only been, so they're giving me the inflated price. So it was $29.38, and then I'm not sure what here you go. So in 1940, it was $29.38. Let's go to 1950 because really we didn't go on the gold standard till 44 or 45. So let's use 1950. It was $73.54, and in 1970, it's 17,000. Okay, so it went up a little, but not much. In inflated dollars, it was 30,619. Well, 1950 was 44.6. And in 1970, it was 65.6, adjusted for this bullshit inflation, which you can't measure. So let's just say it was 73.54 going to 25,000. Well, actually, I got 17,000. So it went up a little, probably because the houses were bigger. But that shows you with gold, I can't do car prices because you can't compare. Is there a Pepsi? What were prices in 1945? See, type a movie is 35 cents. How much was a Coke in 1950? price of Coke remained at 5 cents until the late 50s. So it went from 5 cents to 10 cents with gold. Loaf of bread, white bread was 9 cents. Chicken fryers, 48 cents a pound. Hot dogs, 37 cents a pound. So you can see there's a little different. How much did milk cost? Milk was 63 cents a gallon. I don't know what it is today, a couple dollars. How much did Pepsi cost? There you go. So Pepsi was 5 cents. So Pepsi went from 5 cents in 1950 to 10 cents in 1971 to $2.50 in 2021. So you can see when we had gold, the prices rarely moved. I mean, in 10 years, they didn't move. 5 cents to 10 cents from 1950 to 1970. In 20 years, Pepsi went from a nickel to a dime. Bread was like 10 cents to a quarter in 20 years. And then all of a sudden now it's $3 because the money was backed by gold. You don't have price increases, right? The house moved a little. It was what, 7,000 to 25,000 or something like that. Okay, a little bit. It's probably is it the same house? Probably not. There's improvements in air conditioning. You added air conditioning and more outlets, and it probably went from 800 square feet to 1,200 square feet. So it's hard to measure the same exact house. Because even now, I'm sure there were houses that sold for 100,000 or 200,000 in 1971. And then now I got 475. Well, we know Tom Brady's got a $5 million home or $10 million home, or these movie stars. They have big homes. So this is the point about if it's backed by gold and when it's not backed by gold. Shows you the value of the money is worthless, right? It goes down to nothing when it's not backed by gold, which is the synopsis of the theory here. So knowing you don't have it backed by gold, it has to go to zero because the idiots in charge are going to keep printing it. That's why it's not backed by gold. They took it off gold to print for the war, and then the corruption comes in and they just print and put it in their back pockets and buy stocks with it and all these bullshit deals that they make. They give the money to the Ukraine. Well, if we had gold, you wouldn't be giving $60 billion to the Ukraine. What is that? For what? The war is over. What are you giving money to the Ukraine for? So I can't really figure it out, except for it's all corruption. So again, if you have gold, you're safe because it can't, by holding anything in money, she kind of is close to it, but you can't understand it. This is the Titanic, all the paper instruments, the stock market, the banks, the bond market, and just this regular is all Titanic. It's all sinking because what she fails to get is it's all priced in dollars. This is why she fails my class. She should say everything's priced in dollars. The dollar's going out. It'll all go to zero. Gold will have its own value and won't go to zero because there's always a market for it, because there's always demand. And the central banks, and by the way, Russia, China have 100,000 tons of it, not ounces, 100,000 tons, and they want the price to go up. So the demand for gold is huge. That's why it won't go to zero, and you can't print it. And this gets printed. Fuck the velocity. There's 150 trillion of these, roughly, let's say 20 trillion in the US. And therefore it just keeps getting printed and printed and printed. And now they're like these people that are coming over the border get a little gift card of $2,000 a month for food and stuff. Well, that's not the idea. That's not the point of immigrating is, they'll give me a card. And these people in New York are staying at the Roosevelt Hotel. I stayed there with Carmen. About 3 or 4 years ago, we went to New York, and I said, and it's near Times Square, so we stayed there, and it was a rundown hotel, but it was okay for our couple of days. And and anyway, so that's where all these immigrants come over the border illegally. God knows if they have diseases, God knows if they're criminals, and they come in, and then we give them money. We're giving them debit cards to go spend 2,000. Where's that money coming from? See, if we had gold, we couldn't do that. It only works in a dollar society where you just print. And so we print, they get all that. Where's that money? That's inflation. So they're really trying to bankrupt us. So if you understand that's the goal of the game, is to destroy the currency in the country we're in, possibly to go digital, but I think it'll be like now. I think if you want Bitcoin, you can buy it, but you can still have dollars. And as long as the banks are still here, and JP Morgan and Citigroup and Goldman Sachs are still making money, the dollar ain't going anywhere. Nor will there be a CBDC that everybody has to use. There will be a digital dollar. Probably in certain cases, all these illegals will have to use it. Maybe unemployment or Social Security, you'll have to use it. Not sure. That's what they could be. But the regular, you go to work at I go to work at Mercedes. They're not paying me in digital dollars. Where are they going to get all that? They got to make all these changes? No, they're going to give me my normal paycheck. I'll put it in the bank and pay my bills normally. It'll be an option A, and that's what they're not telling you. They're scaring you, which is part of what government does, is scare you. And these idiots talk about it. They don't know what they're talking about. Let me see that I have to get rid of dollars and get this digital currency. And I'm not seeing it, and it won't be ready for 10 years. And they keep like pushing out this 2030 agenda, whatever. Well, believe me, yeah, I can say I'm going to do this in 5 years, and then it's 2030 and I still haven't done it. So I don't buy any of this bullshit. It's just noise. 2030, we got to have a zero climate and we're all going to die. Okay, fine. Well, we're all going to die eventually anyway, but I doubt it's going to be in 2030. And it ain't going to be from cars. Well, probably more people will die in electric cars than regular cars. The dollar is gone now, and they keep printing it and everything. The stock market's going to crash when everybody pulls their money out of US dollars, which will happen soon. The Chinese stock market crashed, the Japanese stock market crashed, because their currencies are gone. So how long is China going to sit there with no currency when they got 60 tons of gold? And it's coming. Or 60,000 tons of gold. Well, it's coming. That they got to go to a gold back because they can't keep with the paper. And again, Saudi Arabia and Russia want gold for their oil. So we all know where it's headed. It's just a matter of time, but we know why. It's not because, like this woman saying, it's because of BRICS. It's because the dollar is corrupted and the government's corrupt and they've ruined the currency. That's why. And see, if you can't explain what you're saying, then shut the fuck up and stop being on doing these videos, because I haven't seen anybody but me, an Alligator, and Egon who could explain exactly what they're saying. Alligator's a little wishy-washy lately. Egon and me are solid. I really want to go to Switzerland and have dinner with Egon. I think that'd be a very interesting discussion. Mark McGuire, I don't know. The ring fence and the casino and the chips, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. And he doesn't explain himself very well, but he does have some sort of explanation. But this woman can't explain. She doesn't know what she's talking. The velocity's up. What's that? How many times the money moves hands? Well, why is that important? The fact that they printed all the money is the important part. The fact that the CPI cannot be used for inflation, she doesn't get. So anyway, that's where she's clueless. People, why is probably her, Lynette is good as gold. Yeah, it's probably her son or somebody. writing that comment. I won't share it. I won't recommend using it. I got pissed off. I was explaining this to a lady at the coin store like a year ago, and we went to Coney Island, and I explained it. You got to get out of dollars. You got to get out of the stock market. You got to get into gold. And then I saw her like a year later at the gold store, and I said, "So are you listening to my video?" "No, I listened to Lynette." "What the fuck you listen to her for? I'm telling you, she doesn't know what she's talking about." But she sounds a little like me and buy gold, so it's kind of pissed me off, actually. Why are you listening to her? I'm telling you, she doesn't know what she's talking about. She's Keynesian, but she will say it. But here, running around saying it's hyperinflation when it isn't is a very dangerous thing to do. Now, does anybody know what hyperinflation is except for us? No. It's not a lot of inflation. It's again it's the hyperness of the crowd that they run and buy the goods before the prices go up. Well, we don't have the prices going up. I've seen Coke at $2.89 for 6 months now. They went up, then they had trouble, and now they're coming back down, or 2 for $1, or something like that. So that's really what they're at. So I'm not really sure what she's talking about. Unfortunately, she's on, and they're doing this show from Australia in like October, November, and she'll be there, and that cowboy who's an idiot, and Alligator, and Tucker Carlson, and you're like, what a bunch of bozos. But she doesn't. So the problem is she doesn't know what she's talking about, but people don't know. Like Greg John says, how come people are so ignorant? It's not that they don't know, but they don't know how to become like that girl in Berlin who was Jenna's friend. She says, "How did you learn all that? I want to learn that. I don't know where to learn it. When I go online, I don't really see it. So I got a master's in it. I can teach you." So she's got to learn the right thing. So I try to be like, she knows to buy gold. But just buy gold. Just buy as much as you can. So she gets that. Okay, fine. And that's really the key to it. Just, do you understand it? And again, it's the same thing. Gold ended up a little bit, but it's all the paper market. So your first thing is paper versus physical. Every time we go to the COMEX page, it's paper. There's no physical market. So when you're looking at 2010 in paper and you want the price to go up, in paper. You can't look at a physical price. So you want the price in paper to go up. Well, they're not going to let it go up because they're controlling it. They're printing derivatives to keep the price down. How the price moves is because the banks start buying they'll buy more derivatives, and there'll be less people shorting it. But again, that's still paper, not a physical price. And that's really what you need to understand. So in the physical world, there is no price. Therefore, you can't use the 2000 as the physical price. So if you're very creative, you go, well, wait, I can buy physical gold at a paper price. That's why I'm telling you the paper price of 2050 is not close to reality. Or silver. Silver is not 25. And then you'll go, well, yeah, but it's controlled by COMEX. So what? We don't have a choice. And I'm saying, normally you're correct, except for we got brics now. So brics is really the key to breaking the paper and giving us a physical market. And again, you just have to be patient with it. Like the Titanic, it hit the iceberg. Okay, when's it sinking? Well, it's not sinking in 5 minutes. It'll take a few hours. And in our case, it'll take a few months for brics to come out with their currency and break it. But they have to, because all their currencies are worthless. The ruble is worthless. The yuan's worthless. So this is what's happening. So if your money is worthless and you got gold, you start making your money out of gold. And anyway, so that's what's happening. Let's see. So that's my economics this morning. Again, be careful who you listen to. And again, when you see Pepsi go from a nickel to a dime on the gold standard, you start to get it. The money isn't being devalued. But when you see it go from a dime to 250, people think, oh, Pepsi raised their price, and it just shows you how the dollar is losing value. And that's what you need to take out of this. The dollar is being printed, and the more they print, the less it's worth. So now a pop for 10 cents is now cost you $2.50. It isn't the pop didn't raise the price. Gold didn't raise the price. It's just it takes more dollars to buy the gold from 37 to 2,050. The premium is because it's priced in paper, but they're not selling paper. They're not selling derivatives. When I go to my gold store, I'm not buying derivatives. That's why I don't know what this lady's talking about. They're buying derivatives in 64. What the fuck you talking about? So you're buying physical with the paper price. And when you're inflating the paper price by printing a lot of derivatives or selling them for multiples over the ounce. So they're selling 1,000 ounces of silver for 1 ounce of real silver. Well, that's inflation. And is that a real price of silver? No, that's just fake derivative price. The real price of silver would be, I got 1 ounce of silver. What's my price for it? So that's really what you need to understand. It's the prices aren't going up, which is what they keep trying to say. It's really the value of the dollar dropping, and it takes more dollars to buy the goods and services. In your world, you think the dollar, that it's costing more. Well, I need $2.50 now to buy a Pepsi, not a dime. And this is for a little, 12, 16 ounce can. So this is what you think, right? You think they raised the price. They don't have you thinking that, oh shit, the dollar isn't worth anything. So now it's $2.50 to buy the can. And that's where they've got you. And that's what you've got to get away from, that it's Pepsi raising the price. It's not Pepsi raising the price. It's the dollar that loses value. So it takes $2.50 to buy what it cost you 10 cents to buy in 1971. But even there, then you look at bread and it went from a quarter to $3. So it's a little different dichotomy. It's not the same percent. And then a house and a car and gold and silver and oil and the barrel of oil, they're all different. They're different percentages. So how can you use a consumer price index and lump it all in and say, well, it's 3%? I mean, what are you, insane? What do you mean 3%? So that's what they do. And then things that went up 100%, they take out of there, right? So this is the way the government manipulates. If you just took the top 100 things, it'd probably be 10%, which is my argument. But the government takes out things that have gone up a lot, right? So if some price went from $1 to 10, it's not in there. So they go and they take out the high ones and leave you, 3%. So if you believe 3%, I got an oceanfront house here in Michigan to sell you. I'm not sure what ocean, because there isn't an ocean here, but that's why you can't believe anything the government says, and the fact the dollar is going out. And it won't be the world reserve currency. That will go to brics and gold, because there's nothing better than gold, and there's nothing else that can do it. What is it going to be, Brazil or even the ruble? The ruble's got no value, and the won's got no value. And, the only thing with value that should be the world reserve medium of exchange is gold. And that's where we're headed. And it's not really by choice, because they love spending money on wars and the government officials lining their pockets and buying yachts. They prefer to do that than giving a fuck about having real currency, but that's where it's at. So that's the whole point of it. It's kind of by default that only medium of exchange that really works is gold. They'll try to figure out a way, but they can't print it. They can't copy it. And if you can't do that, that means it's limited. And if it's limited, then it means that it can only go up in value as long as there's demand, which there is. If you have demand, you have a market. So is there demand for my Caesars chip? Yes. It's a $5 Caesars chip and used in the 80s. And is there demand for this? Yes, absolutely. If I go on eBay, I'll see it for $20. If I go to Caesars, I don't know if I can use it at the table, but I could probably use it. I can probably go to the cashier and say, here, but I'd only get $5 back for it, but it's worth $30 or $40 on eBay. So I'm not going to do that. But yeah, I mean, as long as somebody's willing to buy it, it has a value in a market. And as long as it has a market, it's not zero. So these aren't worth zero. None of these are worth zero. Even this 1987 Dunros, Reggie Jackson, doesn't go to zero. It goes to $1 or $2. And then you get to Joe Blow in 1987 Dunro. Still has a value of $0.25 because you want to complete the set. So every card has some value. So it's very rarely that they just lose all the value completely, except this, because nobody wants it because they all realize the debt's too strong. See, you can't fuck around with the debt because people, why would I want the money if they got to pay the debt off, but you can't, right? Your debt's 35 trillion. You can't pay it off because even if you printed 35 trillion to pay it off, the 35 trillion you used would be inflated and not worth the 35 trillion you printed. It would be worth 25. So you print 35, but you can only use, it's only got a value of 25. That still leaves a $10 trillion debt. Oh, I'll print another 10 trillion to pay that off. No, that 10 trillion will be worth 5 trillion. So you can never really pay it off by printing it. One option is to make the gold price 20,000 an ounce and then use the gold. But you know what? We don't have any gold. There's no gold in Fort Knox, none at the central banks. Does JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs have gold? Probably, but they're banks, not the government. So it wouldn't behoove that. If you raise the price, it's still, you could have to borrow the money from them. They're not going to pay off the Federal Reserve's debt because they're not the feds, they're the banks. Being bullion banks, I'm pretty sure they have gold. And that's really, so all the banks have a demand for gold. Therefore, the value of the gold will always be much, much higher than it is. But since they're all playing the Ponzi scheme, they're letting COMEX keep the price down so they can keep buying it. So I can hear Jamie Dimon now, keep that price at 2,000 so I can buy more. There's no incentive to raise the price to 3, but at some point, BRICS will break them, and BRICS will say the price is 10,000, and COMEX will struggle. No, it's 2,000, but BRICS will buy it all and sell it for 10,000. So COMEX would be stupid to sell it for $2,000 when you can sell it for 10 with whoever BRICS is selling it for. So that's why COMEX ends. Because BRICS says that we need gold at a much higher, because there's too many people in the world. We can't keep it at 2,000 and print. We can only print as much money as we have gold. So gold at 2,000, I can only print so much money. Well, wait a minute. I got Turkey and I got Egypt and I got all these countries, China and Russia, to feed. I need a higher gold price. That's why it'll go to 10, 20,000, because they need it because they can only print, because the whole basis of the gold standard, let me talk about that in my notes here. Gold standard, 3 classical currency systems. 1, the gold standard, 1815 to 1914. All the countries went on the gold standard. It's like 100 kilometers is 62 miles an hour. That's standard. That's what the gold system's supposed to be. They all measured their money in a fixed weight to gold. So depending on on how the money went was by the gold. So example, the US 1/20th of an ounce of gold equaled whatever the price of gold was. In France, it was 180, and in England, it was a quarter ounce of gold. So you take your money, they gave you a quarter ounce of gold. And it would be based on some price they set, right? So again, it's gold's based on the weight. It's an ounce, it's a half ounce, not necessarily on the value. Gold standard must have to be on gold standard. Fixed weight, be convertible, common denominator gold. So it must be a fixed rate. So all your dollars are, as I said, in the US is 1/20th of an ounce of gold, and it must all be convertible. So if I go to the bank with my money, I'm getting 1/20th of an ounce of gold worth, and it has to be consistent. That's why you need gold to be on the gold, and it must be convertible. Gold is a self-regulating system. Everything will balance in the long run. So gold regulates itself, much like the invisible hand regulates itself. And laissez-faire economics, leave it alone, it regulates itself. So from 1815 to 1914, we're on the gold standard, and everybody in the world got much wealthier, better productivity, better quality of life. What happens in 1914? The idiots go to the central banks. And now it's complete chaos. Although they all were smart enough after World War II to go back to Bretton Woods and go back to gold-backed currency. Why nobody could own it, I don't know. That's probably because the government couldn't pay it off because they are printing it. And if they allowed you to buy the gold, they wouldn't have any. So that's what my thought is on that. And all the countries went on the gold standard. Now, all the countries are off the gold standard. Oh my God. Why? This is George Soros doing, right? No, we don't want to be on the gold standard. Get off the gold standard. So this is the problem with what George Soros has done. And this is why we're all collapsing. You must back your dollar with something. You can't just have your dollar out there without gold, without something, without whiskey. I mean, because you can't just unlimitedly print the money. So this is why the central banks are all buying gold, because they give them credit. They're finance people. They understand this law that if you don't have your money backed by something, it's going to go to zero. They all understand that. So with that said, they're all buying, all the central banks are buying gold, except for the US for some reason. Very uncomfortable living here. And then you have, they all want to go back on the gold standard. All the Euro people, the Russia, the Chinese, Brazil, Zimbabwe, they all want to get, all these countries that have went bankrupt. Venezuela needs the gold standard. I don't know what they're waiting for, unless Russia won't let them. I don't know if they're in BRICS, but they probably will be. And it's, it's Russian. Venezuela is really Russia, and they're corrupt as hell with the oil, but they're losing their ass, and their people are poor and everything else. It's funny how once you inflate your money, once you don't have sound money, it's all poverty, because you can't buy goods and services because nobody wants to make anything because there's no reward in it. You do things for reward, right? I mean, I'm gonna make cell phones and sell them, and I'm gonna make money. Well, if I were to make the cell phone and not make money, why would I do that? I'd be an idiot to make a cell phone and not make money on it. Or if my costs are $100 and I sell it for $90, I'm out of my mind. I'm going to lose money on everything. And that's what happened with Ford and GM with the electric cars. They're making all these electric cars that they can't sell, so they're losing money because they can't sell them to make their money. So if I made this, it cost me $100, and I can't sell it, I'm out $100 for each phone I make. Well, that's Ford and GM with the electric cars. That's Tesla with the electric cars. How that company has any value, I don't know what people are thinking. But I'm convinced this Musk is an idiot, just like the rest of them. Zuckerberg and Gates. Gates is in. What are you gonna do with farmland, Gates? Is that a smart idea? Why don't you fucking buy gold? He doesn't have any gold. And the thing is, when a guy like Gates, if he ever figures out to buy gold, he won't be able to get it. He'll wanna spend $20 billion for gold. There's not $20 billion of gold in the world available. He'd have to go to central banks to buy it, and they're going to charge him a lot more than $2,000 an ounce. So anyway, what else? So we got the NFL draft coming up. It's a sad weekend, no football. But this is where you watch a 1972 Rose Bowl or a 1972 Super Bowl or the Montana game or the 74 Dolphin Raider game. This is where you do it on this, or just more movies. How many movies can how many ounces do you have? How many movies can you watch? I mean, that's why I go swim to get out of the house and see people and talk. Although most people are idiots, but I got some friends there that are into gold, so I talk to them. I did talk to Daria yesterday and got it all straightened out. She's basically afraid to go to Turkey. And apparently in ninth grade, the daughter needs physics and chemistry, and she's just not ready for it. So in seventh grade, teachers will, on a break, teach them that. So that's what she's missing, because what it read is, we're not going to I don't want to go to Turkey, in which I'm saying, well, you don't want to meet me then. Oh, so you've got somebody else. You just don't want to meet me. And she said, no, I want to be with you, but I'm afraid to travel to Turkey. It's dangerous. Like I said, she's afraid to go to the dentist for her implants. So this is where you have to be very stoic and a very good analyst. So an analyst reads stuff like she's afraid to go to the dentist. And then I thought about it. I either thought she was afraid to meet me alone or afraid to go to Turkey. Because she kept buying, like when I mentioned it to her in the summer, it wasn't all, there's an earthquake. So she's worried about it, but she won't tell me. So I kind of forced her to tell me, like, okay, what's going on? Are you just fucking with me or what? And she's like, no, I'm telling you the truth. I'm honest with you. And that's what was plaguing me. In my instincts, I know she's telling me the truth. When she tells me stuff, personal stuff, she means it. And I could read that. And I tell her the same thing. I mean it. I'm not bullshitting you. And so we got that straightened out, where like she explained why the daughter needs to go in. It's really for ninth grade, but she needs to pass ninth grade, probably to go to college. She needs to understand chemistry and physics or whatever. Okay, that makes sense. And then the other part of being afraid to go to Turkey. So when I meet the girls, if you ever meet a girl online and you go visit them in Europe, let's say, they'll be afraid to meet you alone for the first 10 minutes. But they bring their cousin or their sister or their friend with them. Then the both of them eyeball you and see that you're normal. And then the friend disappears, and then the girl's comfortable that you're okay, and you'll spend money on her and buy her food. And, okay, yeah, he'll take care of me. Okay, he'll do. All right, you can get out of here. And that's happened many times with me. Now, I haven't met Daria, so I thought she wants me to come to St. Pete so her friend could meet me with her, and then they could feel comfortable, and then Jenna would be okay, Daria would be okay. And meeting her in Turkey, there was no buffer, so I thought that's why. And I don't know that that's right. She's just afraid to go to Turkey. She's afraid to travel. who knows what they teach you in Russia, how the rest of the world's all evil. I don't know. So I will try to go to Russia. Now I looked, it seems like I could go. I could apply for a visa and go up to 90 days and stay with her and then decide what to do after that. My problem is I don't know what to do. I got an apartment and I got my money. I got all my baseball cards and I got my safe, which I'm not going to bring on the plane. So I think what I'll do is bring like 5 ounces of gold. And can I even cash it in? I think there's banks that will take it in Russia. See, there are banks that'll take U.S. money. We don't know the exchange rates, but they will take it. And then if the ruble gets gold back, then I'll have gold to exchange it. Hopefully they give me the fair price. So that's what I'm worried about, is how would I live there for a month, let's say. And my money won't be good there. So I really don't, I got to understand, how can I do this? I can stay with her. So that's not, I don't need a hotel. We need food, which I could leave the money here and use it on PayPal to pay her sister to get the money back, or we could take the money to the bank, whatever gives us better odds, and then she'd have the rubles to take us grocery shopping with. So that is an option. So I will look into that. But I think that, because I keep saying, well, I'll come to you, but the war, but apparently I just can't fly there. The only way to Russia is to fly to Turkey, and then Turkey to Russia. And then just as long as I have this travel visa, they'll let me in. They don't care. I know there's Americans that are living there. They're not killing them. As long as you stay out of their way, they don't want to just kill you. They want your money. Well, he's American. He's got money. Let's make sure we keep him alive. And I won't, and don't let me in the war. That's the other problem, is the scary war. Oh yeah, we're going to draft you, American guy. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be in the war. So it's a little bit more dangerous, but I was very happy. When I woke up, my spider senses said, oh, she's got another guy. That's why she doesn't want to go to Turkey. And she said, no. I'm afraid to. And my daughter has these tests in the 9th grade that she's going to start studying for in the 7th grade, which is, I can't help her. I don't know Russian. And I don't know science. Yes, there's something I don't know. I don't know physics and chemistry. Mostly math and finance and economics I am very good at, or Excel, or sports. So I'd bring my computer and I could do class from there. I don't know how it'll work if she goes to work. I don't know if she'll need to go to work if I'm there. She wouldn't need to, because I could just give her whatever money she would make at work. I'd have to find a pool though, just to not drive myself nuts. Can't just sit in the apartment. So I got to figure things out. And then what do I do here? Because then I'd have to pay rent here. And if I don't pay rent and I move out, where am I going to put my stuff? So I don't know. A week's vacation is one thing. A couple of months is something differently. So it's kind of, I got to think about what to do, how to do it. I already had a bad experience in Alabama, so I'm not really running to move anywhere. Although I would move to Switzerland, that'd be fun. Anyway, so being stoic, all you can do is control yourself, and all you can do is ask the questions. Is there somebody else? Do you really want to meet? What are you talking about? The school, like, when's the end of it? So you have all this going on, and you're wondering, what is going on at the other end of, asking the person, you're not getting enough information because she doesn't know how to give you the information. And so basically you're trying to figure out using your gut. So let's compare this to football or stocks, but let's do football. How do I figure out what team to bet on? Kansas City or San Francisco in the Super Bowl? Detroit or San Francisco? How do I figure it out? And at the end of the day, and this is what I mean by feel, it's your gut. I was correct on Daria. My gut was right. Yes, everything's true. That's what I thought. I said, there's no way. She can't fool me. Kenzie, we pick up right away. I don't get a picture. I don't get a video. It's a bullshit. But Daria, everything she said tied out, and it was, my gut is, yeah, she's real, and she is. And so in a football game, when I say I feel it, it's my gut. If I have enough information to figure out the game, then it's a feel. That's when my gut takes over and I can figure out the game. And once my gut feels it, once I get to that point where there's something, Seattle's 20-2 as a road dog, or Kansas City is 9-1 as a dog with Mahomes, or Cincinnati with Burrow is a very strong dog, or Buffalo or Baltimore. Certain teams are a very strong dog. And that's why I do the trends. They help me also. But once you start, okay, Mahomes and all this, and he's the dog, then it's the gut instinct that said, take KC against Buffalo, against Baltimore, against Frisco. Take Mahomes as the dog. That's what my gut instinct tells me. He's the best player on the field. You want to bet that guy as a dog, and that's gut instinct. Because I've seen Montana, and I've seen the Steelers, and I saw the old Packers, and I saw the Niners and Jimmy Johnson. Anytime he was a dog at Miami or at Dallas, Miami Hurricanes or Dallas, you just bet them, and they won every time. So there's certain coaches you would do that with. Michigan, Ohio State, take the dog. And it's still working, right? I took the dog this year and it won. So that's what you do, is once you find that certain variable that you're looking for that is consistently works for you, then it becomes a feel. That's what a feel is. It's your gut instinct telling you, yeah, I've seen this before. I saw Joe Montana and it won, and that's what I'm going to do now. And it wins. So instead of Montana, it's Mahomes. And it's the same result. He's the dog, he wins. Nothing's changed. So if you can find the quarterback. So when I bitch about quarterbacks, they're not Montana, they're not Mahomes, they're not gut instincts, right? So when I go Lamar, I don't get a gut. He was 3-point favorites over Kansas City, and he lost the game. Well, my gut instinct with Lamar is to bet against him because he doesn't win. And we see this. And how many playoff games have we seen him lose? Yeah, he beat Houston, big deal. I mean, we could have beat Houston. And then you get the gut instinct. Now I've added the totals. Oh, Detroit, good offense, terrible defense. They're an over. And my gut instinct is against another strong offensive team to bet them over. So they played Green Bay, bet them over. Then they played Tampa Bay, bet them over. And they played the Rams, bet them over. And they all won. And then Frisco bet them over. And that was because Frisco had a bad defensive coordinator and they barely beat Green Bay. They gave up a lot of points to Green Bay. Well, they're going to give up a lot of points to Detroit. And Detroit's offensively, because you could see scoring 27 a game, but you could see why. It's always a why. You must ask the why and answer it. That's stoic. When Lynette Zing says, oh, it's hyperinflation, why? It's not hyperinflation. You don't understand what hyperinflation is. It's velocity. No, there's no such thing. That's when you realize they're not Mahomes. That's when you realize they don't know what they're talking about because they're using things that they've heard, but they don't really understand, and therefore it's wrong. So that's why I don't like Lamar. But then what's Lamar? He's a running quarterback. So I don't like any of these running quarterbacks. They don't win, right? Jalen Hurts, lost the Super Bowl. Didn't do anything this year. He was terrible this year. I mean, he was okay in the beginning. Their defense sucked because they lost their defensive coordinator. So then you go, well, why isn't Philly keeping their coordinators? Look what KC just did. They kept Spagnuolo. They gave him a raise and signed him and said, we want to keep you, and he stayed. Well, that was smart. Why aren't these other teams doing it? Why aren't the Lions doing this with this Johnson guy? Why aren't they giving him a raise instead of letting him go? Because the Lions are cheap and they won't pay. You watch, all their free agents will go. They won't sign anybody. I doubt they'll sign Goff. Maybe they will, but they shouldn't. If you got Hooker, play him. Let's see what you got with Hooker. I think Hooker's better because Goff is not Mahomes. He's a choke. He loses games that he should win. He's never won the big games that anytime he's a dog, you can bet on him. He played Baltimore and lost 38-3. Mahomes played Baltimore and beat him 17-10. That's the point. Plus, KC has a killer defense. So you're looking at all this to get your gut instinct, to get your feel. And that's what you're looking for different variables. And that's the key. With Daria, I was looking at the way she sounds and the pictures she sends me and the way she talks. She's like, she's very like, no. My gut said, yeah, she's real because she talks a lot like Jenna, who I've met, is real. I just haven't met her. So I know with her, she's real. And I could tell. That's why I was confused because no, it doesn't sound right. And then are you telling me she's not real? Like, does she not want to meet? Like, how are we supposed to do everything if she won't meet? So that's kind of where my gut instinct was she's real, but what I'm seeing, not meeting in Turkey isn't real. And basically, if I can go to Russia, which I think I can, I just can't fly right into St. Pete. I'll have to go through Turkey. So it sounds like I can go. It sounds like I could always get it was like going with the COVID. You're not supposed to fly, but I went to Amsterdam anyway. Amsterdam was closed, so we ended up going to Lviv. But just because it was COVID and you're not supposed to travel, we traveled. We said, fuck it. And the planes were flying and business is business. So off I go. So I got to see if anybody can fly to St. Pete direct. Otherwise, I'll have to go through Turkey. But that's when it's the logic of it is, Mahomes, okay, pocket pass, Joe Burrow as a dog. Stafford, I knew would be a good dog against the Lions. I know the Lions aren't going to kill you because they're not that strong a team. They did kill a few teams like Denver, but look at the San Diego game. They won by 3. The Oakland game, they killed Oakland, was still using their bad quarterback. But you can see what makes you want to have Garoppolo. Why would you bet on Garoppolo? When has he ever won, or when is a dog that you'd go, yeah, I'm going to take Garoppolo and win? But there's so many quarterbacks that you look at who suck that you can't, if we go down the list, so let's have some fun. So if I go down the list, right, so I got Cleveland. I ended up with Flacco. Am I going to trust him? And then, it would have been Burrow, but it was Browning for Cincinnati. Can I trust him? He sucked at Washington. Then Mullins for Minnesota. Maybe it depends against who. Golf. I really can't trust him to win the game, but I can trust him to score a lot of points and throw a lot of interceptions. Fields against Love. Green Bay and Chicago were playing. I can't trust Fields to win, and I really can't trust Love. Now I can trust him a little bit more, but I think he's like Goff. I can trust him to score a lot. I can't trust him to win. And Trevor Lawrence against Tannehill was the next game. I can't trust Trevor Lawrence to win, and I certainly can't trust Tannehill to win. Stroud and Minshew, I can't trust Stroud. So this is what the Houston people are bitching. Oh, no, Stroud's really good. Okay, but we're looking at apples and oranges. Can you bet on Stroud as a dog? Can you bet on him to win? No. You can maybe bet on him for points, but against Baltimore, they only scored, that was 34-10. So you can't even trust Stroud against a good team to cover for you. So that's why you can't trust Stroud. That's the point I'm making. It's not because he can throw he looks good running around or throwing a 20-yard pass, or he threw a touchdown. Oh, yeah, he's really good. That's not what really good is. Really good is, can I bet him against Baltimore in a playoff game? The answer is no. They got killed. He didn't score anything. They scored on a punt return. Hence, no, you can't trust him. No, he's not really good. Really good is he's a winner, and that's what he does. Minshew, Indy, you can't trust him. Stidham at Denver. Russell Wilson, I could trust. O'Connell, no, for Oakland. Allen, I don't trust him to win. I trust him to score. He's an over guy, but I don't trust him to win. And he lost to Kansas City for the 15th time in a playoff game. Tagovailoa, can't trust him at all. Again, he's one that I can trust to score. What was the score of this game? Well, this game actually didn't go over. It was 21-14. Go figure that out. 21-14. Allen against Tagovailoa, where you would have thought that you could trust the offenses to score. Tagovailoa gets 14 points against a good team. And this is where you're like, I can't trust him, so therefore he's not a good quarterback. So stoically, my instincts aren't to bet on Tagovailoa as a dog. Had Miami been favored, I would have bet Josh Allen as the dog against the Miami team. The Jets in New England, it was Simeon against Zappi, and the Jets won 17-3. New England didn't show up. Atlanta, New Orleans, Heineken against Carr. Carr beat him 48-17. You can trust him a little bit against these weaker teams. Obviously, you can't trust Heineken. Hurts and Taylor, Philadelphia and the Giants. And the Giants won 27-10. So where's Hurts? What did I bet there? So I took the over 36, and they got 37. So that was my over. But I couldn't trust Taylor as the dog, and I couldn't trust Hurts laying 4 to the shitty Giants to win. This is where the stoic and the gut feeling comes in. Seattle and Arizona. Seattle, Smith against Murray, and maybe you can trust Murray as a dog in this type of game. Seattle wins 21-20. It's an over 41, so I got there just in time. But again, it's a very Murray scored 20. They lost by 1. So can you trust? This is a game that Mahomes would have won, so I couldn't trust either. And then San Diego, KC, forget. The Rams and the Niners. This is one that they didn't play. Now, normally I could trust Stafford as a dog and Purdy as a dog. So I could trust both of those. And I'm starting to see, yes, Purdy can go into, you can trust him. He's a live dog. He's going to score points. He looked very good against KC, putting points up. So I think Purdy's developing into a good dog quarterback and a good over quarterback. That would be my guess. Dallas, Washington, Prescott, we can't trust at all. My gut instinct with him is there's going to be a bunch of turnovers. Here they beat Washington 38-10 against Thurston Howell III. We actually did I think I locked Dallas in this game because they had to win the game, but I wasn't really betting on Dak Prescott. I was more or less betting against Washington and betting against Howell because he's terrible. And Dallas won 38-10, but I remember they struggled and then started scoring in the second half. But against a good team, no, I don't trust Prescott. Tampa Bay and Carolina, Mayfield against Young. I can't trust Young at all. In fact, he's so bad we bet against him. Mayfield, I don't trust. I don't know when to bet him. And then Pitt, Baltimore was Rudolph against Huntley. Lamar, I don't trust. A little bit more for high scoring against weaker teams. And Rudolph, I don't trust for Pittsburgh. So what does that mean, trust? What does it mean, gut instinct? And that's what it means is I can trust Mahomes and I can trust Burrow. If they're the dog, I'm going to bet them. And every time I bet Burrow as a dog, they won, including college. And every time I bet Mahomes as a dog, they win. And Josh Allen, pretty much, you can bet him as a dog. The other thing, though, is KC's defense. Hard to bet against them with this strong defense. So we will see. So let's go to college, where I make my living. How do I trust? Who do I trust there? And I trust Bo Nix, and I trusted Penix, although he didn't show up against Michigan, and I trusted Daniels at LSU. Caleb, I trusted him only for overs. I didn't trust him to win, and they lost a lot of games with him, but they were pretty much over except for the UCLA game and the Oregon game. So there's a few games he didn't show up either. But more or less, he was an over guy. He wouldn't win like a Montana. If Montana was the quarterback, I would have trusted Montana to get the win. Anytime USC would have been the dog, but I didn't trust Caleb Williams. I do trust Cam Rising, but he was hurt. But him I'll bet on. Van Dyke, on a normal offense, I trust. So we'll see him at Wisconsin. Hartman, I would trust as a dog. He was a dog to USC, and they won. So Hartman, I would trust. Penix, like I said, Daniels, that. I wouldn't trust Drake May. This is why I'm against him being the first quarterback drafted. I don't trust that he's any good. I don't trust I can bet on him as a dog or as a fair for this. Bo Nix and Daniels, I could almost trust the bet to win the game. I couldn't do that with Drake May. I don't think I'll ever bet Drake May. It's just like this Steve Young. I don't think I'll ever bet Steve Young, even as a dog. I don't trust him or Carolina to win any game. So I bet against them. I don't like Young at all. I don't like Richardson. I would never bet on him. And then the other guy, CJ Stroud, I don't really trust. Again, well, this is where you got your divide. You've got your good teams and your bad teams. So against bad teams, I trust CJ Stroud. I trust Goff. I trust some of these quarterbacks against against Carolina. Although CJ Stroud lost to Carolina. So that kind of shoots down that whole thing. They played Carolina and they lost. So when I say good or bad, it's do I trust them? Is my gun instinct with them to bet on them? This is really the whole point, right? Is that what I can do? And I don't. We don't do this to lose money. We do this to make money. We look for different variables used to make money. This is why you can't do analytics or algorithms to make money, because you need to somehow plug in, it's Mahomes and that defense playing, and somehow come out with, so let's bet a lot on it, or it's Cincinnati with Joe Burrow. Then it comes out, bet them, right? But if it's CJ Stroud against Baltimore, you better show taking Baltimore in your algorithm. And that's my argument with the algorithm. You've got to put in Detroit, crappy defense, decent quarterback, decent, good offense, crappy defense, and out should pop out over. Well, I don't need an algorithm to tell me that, but you've got to be able to use those variables. So again, Hartman and Van Dyke, Hartman, Cam Rising, Daniels, Bo Nix, and Penix. Those five I can bet on. Caleb, depends what team he goes on. If he went on the Lions, I would bet them over. I wouldn't bet him to win, but I could bet him over. If he goes on Washington, I don't know what the fuck I'd do. If he goes on the Bears, I don't know what the fuck I would do. I wouldn't bet on him to win on those teams because they're so bad. Fields, I don't bet. I bet Fields, the only time I bet him is over. And Love, I'm starting to see he's an over, but I can't count on Love to win the game. And so this is the problem. Purdy starting to win some games for me. Okay. Like Ken Stabler, you could count on him to win as the dog, except if they played Pittsburgh. And then you didn't bet against Pittsburgh. So there's always that one team you don't bet against, Alabama, Georgia. And then there's the over or under teams. So Georgia has been an under team for a long time. They're starting to score more, so I got to readjust my look on them. So those are the quarterbacks. Caleb, I don't know. He's only an over guy. He runs around, turns the ball over a lot. Was he any good, or was it the scheme? I think it's the scheme, because everybody in that scheme looks great, and then they get in the pros and they suck. So that's that. Mayfield doesn't look like he did at Oklahoma. Hurts certainly doesn't, and Kyler Murray, he's okay. He dances, he runs too much. Now we'll see. We'll see Caleb. What does he do? But I would think he's an over, but we will see. But right now, the only two we can talk about that our gut instinct is Mahomes or Burrow as the dog, and maybe Josh Allen, unless they're playing Kansas City. That's it. We cannot trust Tagovailoa to win the game for us as a dog. We can't do that. He doesn't do it. He loses in a big game. When they're the dog, he loses every time. So, in fact, you bet against him. So, Cam Rising, yes, we'll bet him as a dog anytime. We like Van Dyke as a dog anytime. That's why I like Trask at Florida. He lit it up. So I like him, but they're not playing him. Tampa's staying with Mayfield. Trask might have beat Detroit, but you had Mayfield out there. So it's difficult when you got bad coaches and they won't play their best players. Then there'll be an injury. That's how Brady got in, right? And you get an injury, and then, okay, let's use Brady. And you're like, why didn't you play Brady? It's so stupid. And that happens a lot in college. Why didn't you play Cam Rising? Why didn't you play Van Dyke? He's sitting there third string. They get injured, and all of a sudden he's great. Joe Montana was the eighth string quarterback. The other guys got injured, and here comes Montana, and you're like, well, you had Joe Montana on your bench. What kind of coach are you? Why wouldn't this guy be starting? And then sometimes maybe because he was on the bench, Brady and Montana, maybe that when they got their chance, they played much better than if you would have just given them the starting role. They might not have been the same quarterback. Like Brady with the chip on his shoulder, but you tend to get like the number one picks, Goff and Mayfield, the number one pick in the draft, and these guys suck. So it's kind of difficult to draft a guy number one because he thinks he's too good. You're better off not drafting the guy one, but three or four, and say, look, these guys went ahead of you. Then he gets all mad. But, that's the problem. If he gets drafted one, it's almost you really I don't know how you can draft now. I would almost trade for number two, and then I can say, look, he went number one, not this guy. I mean, because it's got to be I don't know too many ones that, Michael Jordan was drafted number 3. So it makes it very difficult for a number one pick to actually be it, right? So we will see. But that's what I look for and that's what I'm studying. And when I study all the college and the pros is who's a good dog and who's a good favorite? Who can I trust? That's what I'm looking at. When I'm running down college or pro, it becomes a who can I trust? That's why it's very hard to bet Jacksonville. And I struggle with Houston and Indy and Tennessee. I can't trust them. I don't want to bet on somebody I can't trust. So my gut instinct struggles looking at Jacksonville to bet them. Then that's when I get my locks. My gut instinct takes over and I go, I get Mahomes as a dog. That's a lock. I get, Stafford as a dog, Joe Burrow as a dog, even against KC. Joe Burrow is a bet against KC. Josh Allen was favored, so it made Mahomes as a dog good. Against Lamar, had Mahomes been favored, could I have taken Lamar as a dog? I would have probably not. I would have bet the game under. I don't trust Lamar. And this is what I shake my head at with Baltimore, that you're trusting Lamar, but he doesn't win any big games. At what point are you going to realize he ain't it? He doesn't win big games. So what are you doing? Are you making money off of him, or are you trying to win a Super Bowl? And to me, it doesn't look like you're trying to win a Super Bowl. It looks like you're just trying to use Lamar and say, look, we got Lamar, but he ain't winning shit for you, right? How many years? 5, 6, 7 years now. He ain't beaten anybody in the playoffs. He never will. It's not possible for him because he can't throw the ball well enough. He can't read a defense well enough. He goes back to throw. He has no idea where he's going. Half his passes are picked or incomplete. I mean, what? They got 7 points against Kansas City. That was it. They had a good drive in the touchdown. Then, okay, the guy got the ball knocked out at the 1, and then he threw a pass in the end zone, intercepted. So, okay, Zay Flowers should have been more careful with the ball, and then they might have scored there. But, okay, so that's 14 points. But still, it wasn't a touchdown. And so what has he done? He hasn't done shit. And that's why you can't bet on him, because you can't trust him, especially as a favorite against Mahomes. Mahomes, if you just break it down, okay, give me Mahomes against Lamar. Who do I like better? Who do I trust more? It's Mahomes. He's now won 3 Super Bowls. Lamar hasn't won a meaningful playoff game yet. I mean, who can you trust there? You can't trust Lamar. So that's what I have, not against Lamar, but that's why I don't speak highly or don't bet on him a lot. And he's good for high-scoring games when they play Cleveland or something, or Pittsburgh, and they score a lot of points. Well, not even Pittsburgh, but let's say they play Indy or a team like that, or Philly. You know it's going to be a high-scoring game. You don't know if Lamar's going to win it for you, but it'll be high-scoring. So that's kind of gut feeling and stoic at the same time. Your gut feeling, your INFJ comes out, and by watching games as strongly and closely as I watch them and figuring out the variables, that's how I can pick. So I can go down and say, there's a bowl game that, I should have amazed all of you at is taking, let's see. No, it wasn't even a bowl game. It was the week before the conference championship week. And I go ahead with Boise against Vegas. And I give you the over 60 in the game. So here's where I excel. Boise plays Vegas. They're both over teams. They both have 26 defenses. The over-under is 58. And I lock the over. And the score is 44-26. So they play a 70-point game with an over-under of 58. All we need to do, teasing it, is 52. That's where I excel, because I'm able to feel that Boise's a high-scoring team. Vegas is a high-scoring team. Neither of them really has a defense. They both should score a lot. And that's the gut feeling. The gut feeling of SMU Tulane I went under on. App State Troy, how about that one? I went over with App State and Troy because I see App State score a lot in Troy. And the score is 49-23. Troy, and the over-under is 52. That's where I excel, is understanding the quarterback and the teams, and understanding Joey Aguilar or Michigan, Iowa, or Louisville, Florida State. They're going to be unders, and I bet them under. Michigan, I had under, 34. I went under 40. It was 26-0. Army, Navy, always betting that under. I understand, and my gut feel says this is what's going to happen, and that's how it works out. And that's really what you want. And I'm right 75% of the time with that. And then when I really get a strong feel, let's see, where did I lock? So I locked the Tulane SMU under, right? So the score is 26-14, SMU wins. Over under 47 down to 53, up to 53, and I go under. And then I'm smart enough to say, yeah, I love my gut instinct is two low scoring teams and one of the SMU quarterback's out. They're not going to score a lot. They'll probably run a lot. How much risk do you take with the backup quarterback? But by the way, since my gut instinct says it's an under, let's put them in 3 teasers and let's lock the game and bet a lot on it. That's the gut instinct saying, yeah, no, that's for sure. Like Michigan, Iowa, yeah, that's an under. Or LSU or Florida State and Louisville, yeah, that's an under, especially with the quarterback being out. And it was a 16-6 game, and we're under 52 because they made the over-under too high at 46. So all that, you're studying the teams, and you can see, oh, this has a really good defense or a real bad defense. So you're looking at the variables. Then the gut instinct takes over going, yeah, this USC should be a high-scoring game. And then you wait for them in a high-scoring procedure. Let's see, USC played Louisville in the bowl game. But I don't think, because of the backup quarterback, I didn't play it. Yeah, it was 42-28. But Caleb didn't play, so I took Louisville and I lost. But in the Oak State game, I have Oak State. Well, let's go to a better game. So Ohio State, Missouri. Let's look at that one. Ohio State's a 5-point favorite. I love Missouri. They're the better team. Ohio State's really not that good this year. Over under 51. Ohio State laying 5. I take Missouri plus the 11 because my gut instinct says they're a very good team, good running attack, good quarterback. They're going to stay in there with Ohio State, and I think they're the better team, and they went 14-3. And that's how you gut instinct it. You look at the team against Georgia. Missouri played Georgia very well. Ohio State looked like shit against Michigan. They don't play anybody. They looked okay against Notre Dame, who turned out to be not that good. So you're sitting there. You're figuring out how good the team is. And then based on a head-to-head with based on a game against somebody else, Missouri, Georgia, I can then gauge how good Missouri is, which then my gut instinct takes over. And I go, yeah, they played Georgia really good. They'll play Ohio State really good. And Ohio State doesn't care, and some players were sitting out, and it's 5. I get 11 in Missouri. That's an absolute joke. There's no way they're going to lose by 11, and they win the game 14-3. And that's where the gut instinct comes in. That's where being stoic, you set up your variables and you go, yes, and then being stoic, you do that. Then your gut instinct comes out and says, yeah, Missouri, I love it. Just like Kansas City, Baltimore, Kansas City, Buffalo, Kansas City, San Francisco. You just love the game. And then that's it. So that's why sometimes it took me all of 5 seconds to take Kansas City over the Niners and over Baltimore. It took all of 5. As soon as I saw the spread that they were the dog, I didn't need anything else. That was it. Okay. Gut instinct took over. Gut instinct said, take Mahomes. And we're counting the money, right? That's how you pick games. It's a little harder to pick stocks. That's how we pick gold and silver. It's the gut instinct that after understanding what's going on with gold and silver helps me go, well, this is ridiculous. this is not down because of demand. This is down because of a price fixing, and price fixing won't last. And then I look for, oh, wait, here comes brics, and they're going to break the price fixing. So my gut instinct takes over and says, you better be buying gold and silver. That's a lock. There's no way this price doesn't go up, because the demand is huge, because everybody's fucking their money and printing. The inflation's huge because they're all printing. And the more they print and the more corrupt it is, they're going to keep printing. Nobody's going to want it. And everybody's going to be forced to go to gold and silver. They won't be able to keep COMEX in. So that's a gut instinct that gold and silver are way underpriced. So it's a no-brainer, right? Same thing with Mahomes. It's the same thing Mahomes is a dog as gold and silver is. But you need to study the variables to understand it. But you need to understand the variables, which is what I do so well by being stoic. You look at, well, why is gold down? So in my interview, I said, you know why gold's 2,000? And the guy had no clue. I should have got up and left right then, going, I don't want to work for you. You're a fucking idiot. You don't know what you're doing. How can you be running this company? Right? That's what I should have done. And that's why my jobs don't work out, because I'm smarter than most of the people who are in charge. And so I just do a shake my head. That's why I need to be in charge more, like doing this or doing Teaserking, picking the games, or teaching the economics, because I know what's going on, and more than these other idiots. So that's why I call Lynette Zing an idiot, and Andy Wetman and which a Shift and Maloney. That's why they're idiots, because they don't know to bet Mahomes as a dog. They don't know to bet gold and silver. They know to bet gold and silver because they probably listen to me, but they just do it to do it, but they're not sure why. They're not understanding brics keeps the price. And that's what you hear. What did I hear? As good as gold. Well, do you think gold will finally break out of the 2,000? They don't even understand it's held down by COMEX. Do you think it'll finally jump? No, it's not going to jump till brics makes its move and wants gold-backed currency, and the gold needs a higher price. Will gold go over the 2,000? So you can sit there all you want. It ain't moving because JP Morgan doesn't want it to move. They want you in dollars. They want you in the banking system, and they want you on Wall Street. So as long as they want you there, you're going to be there. It's got nothing to do with anything else. Then they want you in money. And once you realize you don't want to be in money, then there's nothing JP Morgan can do. But he's going to do it as long as he can to keep you in money. But you don't want to be in money, and that's what'll blow up the CBDCs or the new currency or whatever the fuck you want to call it, or Bitcoin. The biggest understanding that your gut feelings got to be is everything's priced in dollars. So the biggest key to take out of this is this is worth $5,000, right? 5,000, but dollars, not gold, but dollars. This is what you got to take out of this. Knowing that this is priced in dollars and the dollar's losing its value, you can then, the more gold and silver I buy, then I'll be able to buy this with gold or silver. That's looking ahead. That's the Titanic hitting the iceberg going, okay, now what's going to happen? Oh, it's going to fill up and it's going to sink. What do I got to do? I got to get off the ship. Here, I've got the card. I don't want this because this is worthless. So I'm going to hold this until now it's valued in gold, and now I can sell it. So that's why you got to be careful. Just like your house and your car, they're going to be valued in dollars. They are valued in dollars. They're going to go to zero until they get priced in gold. And there's no barter system. God, barter system. What kind of barter system? What am I going to come in with my Canadian Club 12? Okay, I'd like some milk and eggs. I'm going to pay you in Canadian Club. Was she out of her fucking mind? And by paying with gold and silver, it is money. So it's not a barter. These people just are so stupid. It's just amazing. Anyway, so that's what we have to understand. So that's really what gut feeling is. And that's what I was doing with Daria yesterday. My gut feeling was she's serious. She's not going to fool around, and I'm helping her with food and rent and her teeth, and she's just fucking around with me. I never got that. Just the way she'd say it and the way she acted and her words, I never once thought she's, maybe in the beginning, but then as it's carrying on, it's like Jenna. Jenna's not playing with me, right? I know that. So when I get texts from her, I know what's going on. I know how she is, and she's a little different than Daria. She's more aggressive. But she wants to walk down the street with me, but she wants me to look perfect, to say, look who I'm walking with. And I'm worried about gold and silver. I'm not worried about that. Now, I don't know how Daria is going to be when I walk down the street with her, but probably not. I don't get that she'll be the same, but understanding now that these European girls want you to look very good. Carmen had it the other way. She said, you get to walk down the street with me. And I said, Carmen, you don't get it. I don't care about how good you look. I care about how good I look. Because that's how Carmen would come across. Oh no, but you get to walk down with a beautiful girl. And I go, I'm not into that stuff. Not that Jenna and Daria aren't beautiful, but that wasn't. I'm thinking about gold and the economy and football is on my mind, not did I put my cologne on or did I shave every inch of my face? So anyway, but that's what gut feeling is, and that's where you arrive at. So you've got to be able to look at a game and with your gut feel it. And I can't feel Jacksonville or I can't feel New Orleans or Atlanta. They're so inconsistent. And the quarterbacks are so bad that you can't feel it. It was better with New Orleans. That's where you go to the coach. And I had I had Sean Payton and Drew Brees, and I could bet New Orleans and win with them a lot. Now he's on Denver, and I go, I got Sean Payton, and that's why I was all excited. I got Sean Payton, and I got Russell Wilson. And then I don't know what happened. Russell Wilson didn't like it. He's got some problem because he wasn't very good last year, but we assumed it was the coach. Now he's got Sean Payton. He's not that good. So now Denver needs a quarterback. So you watch Denver. If the draft goes the way it looks, where it's only Drake May, Caleb, and Daniels, I guess, and you got Hartman, and you got Penix and Bo Nix sitting there. Look for Denver in the late in the first or in the second round, taking those guys. You put Bo Nix or you put Penix on Denver. I mean, right now, then they'd be right up there with Mahomes because they're just Bo Nix is as good as Mahomes, as is Penix. They're winners, and that's what I look at. Right, that's what you want to look at in the draft. That's what I look at in the draft. How did these guys do in college? And Bo Nix is like so underrated for some reason. Well, he didn't look good at Auburn. Well, yeah, but he played the last 2 years at Oregon. And he looked like a superstar. What the fuck are you Auburn for? Or Penix. Yeah, he had a bad year at Indiana and he hurt his knee, but he looked pretty fucking good the last 2 years. At Washington, why are you looking at his Indiana game? So this is the problem. People just don't know what they're looking at. And it's more, Drake May should go number one. Why? What has he done that deserves number one? He didn't do anything at North Carolina. They didn't beat anybody good. Throws a lot of interceptions. I was watching his highlights. Half the balls were 50-50 where he's throwing it into a crowd, but he had a good receiver who would come down with it. That's not going to work in the pros. The cornerbacks are going to intercept him. He's not going to be doing that. So that's what you have to be very leery about is he's just he's not very good. And that's what I saw with Steve Young at Alabama. He wasn't very good. And then he comes to Carolina and he throws, 10 touchdowns and 9 picks and sacks 62 times. This kid's way over his head, way out of his life. If I was Carolina, if I was the new head coach or GM, I'd trade him immediately and try to get the 1 pick and get Bo Nix. And then you'll see a whole different thing. But I'll run a whole different scheme. I don't know what the scheme Carolina ran. it wasn't a good one. My quarterback got sacked 65 times. What's going on there? Is it the line? No. Is it the quarterback? Yeah. I better run different routes where he can hit the halfback out of the backfield on these swing passes and hit the tight end more, because obviously he's not doing that, and he's going back to pass, and he's getting sacked. So that's a big problem. You have a terrible offensive coordinator. You got a terrible quarterback. And I would much rather have Bo Nix than Bryce Young. So, yes, I do know his name, but I don't want to call him that. So that's really what you have. So that's what stoic is, being calm and calculating and figuring it out, and then not letting anybody I got Mahomes, and then somebody says, oh, no, I like Baltimore. They're going to win for sure. And then you get off of Mahomes and you bet Baltimore, and then Baltimore loses. And you're like, well, fuck, I knew Mahomes was going to win. And that's where you stick with your gut instinct, and that's where you be stoic and you don't listen to anybody else. I don't want to hear anybody else's picks. I create mine, and that's what I want to listen to, and that's what I want you to listen to, not Joe Blow who comes in the conversation who gives us, oh, I like Houston. Well, go bet Houston then. I don't really care. I'm not doing this to hear your picks. I don't really care about your picks. Are they stoic? How are you picking? Are you stoic? Are you gut feeling? Probably not. Do you know what to look for? Probably not. So that's why this is about me teaching you how to pick. So it's getting the gut instinct is what I'm trying to teach you, which is basically, knowing Mahomes is a good dog, right? Here, Nick didn't get it, right? Nick gives me his picks. He doesn't have Mahomes as a dog on it. I go, where's Mahomes? So he doesn't have it bet. I'm like, what are you, crazy? You've been with me for 3 years and you don't know to take Mahomes as a dog? No, I'm not trying to insult Nick, but I'm saying you're missing the whole point then. How are you learning from me if you missed the easiest pick on the board, which is Mahomes as a dog? So I think he learned that lesson, but he didn't know it at first. So anyway, that's what gut instinct is. If you talk to somebody, you kind of feel so when you see a girl and she smiles at you, it's your gut instinct saying, yes, I can talk to her. It's like that one lifeguard, Julia, I give her silver and we talk, and my gut instinct is she's a friend, and that. And the other one who's very like, you say hi and she like, can't even look at you. The gut instinct is not to talk to her, because what's the point? She'll probably cry, oh, he offered me money, he must want sex. I mean, that's how stupid the girl was, but my gut instinct was that I liked her. But that's the gut instinct, is what you think will happen based on what's happening. Oh, she smiles at me, we say hi to each other, so I can probably ask her out. And, that's really what you're doing with girls. In poker, the same thing. Oh, the Russian girl, she bets a lot, she's bluffing. She bets a lot, she's bluffing. She's checking, she's probably got a hand. So your gut instinct is, I got 3 aces and I'm checking, and then she makes a big bet, she's bluffing. My gut instinct says, and so I call her and she has nothing. And I was right, she was bluffing, because when she bets a lot, she bluffs. And then she checks the next hand, and my gut instinct is, now she's got 2 pair or 3 of a kind or something. And I'm right, and she does. So now I'm looking at a poker hand going, what's my gut instinct on the player? Do they bet a lot to bluff, or do they bet a lot when they have the hand? Do they check when they don't have anything? See, most of the time I'll check when I don't have anything, or I'm on a draw. I got 4 diamonds, so I'm checking, right? I'm not betting the IFCOM, making a big bet, and then I don't hit the flush and I lose everything. I'm not playing to lose. So I will more than likely check, and I think most people will, if they got the 4 diamonds, hoping for the 5th diamond. That's prudent to do that. Some people will make the bet with the 4 diamonds, hoping for the flush. figuring they won't get paid off if the flush hits. So I'm going to bet now, and if the diamond hits, then I win. Okay. And so your gut instinct is watching the players. That's why you watch the players, seeing how they bet certain hands. Do they bet when they have the full house and that's it, and then check the rest of the time, or just fold? Or do they bluff? And the hardest ones are when they bluff sometimes and then they bet. And that's what I am. I'll bet $100 bluffing, and I'll bet $100 when I got a full house. You don't know what I'm doing. I'll check with the full house. Like I said, the one hand, I get pocket aces. Some lady gets kings or queens, makes the bet. I call. And there's 4 or 5 people in. And the flop comes the third ace and a 10-4. And the lady with the kings makes a bet, and I call it. And the guy with 10-4, had 2 pair, goes all in, and the lady with the kings or queens folds, and I call because I got trip aces. And then the guy realizes he can't, if a king or 10 comes up for his full house, I have 3 aces, and then I'd have either a pair of kings or 10s, and I would have a higher full house. He comes over and shakes my hand, and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, but what did I do? I checked my aces. I called on the flop, pre-flop, and then on the flop, I just checked my 3 aces, and then I called the all in. So I didn't make a bet, but I had 3 aces. I don't know if I got a full house or not, but I knew I won. But if I do it the next hand and I call, do I have aces? And if there's a bet and I call, do I have trip aces? Now you don't know what the fuck I got, because I didn't bet when I got a full house or 3 aces. I didn't bet aces pre-flop. So how are you going to figure me out? How do you get the expected outcome or the gut instinct on me? Good luck, you can't. But I'm smart enough to check the aces when the lady's got kings, or check when I hit 3 aces, and then letting the guy with 2 pair think he's in the lead. Maybe I got a pair of aces. So maybe I had ace king and the ace came, and I'm calling the kings, and then he makes his bet because he thinks that we're weak. He's not understanding that I've got the 3, I've now got 3 aces. He can't see that. And that's, but then in a different hand against the same opponents, I might bet the 3 aces, depending on the flop. So if the lady doesn't bet, I'm betting my aces pre-flop. But she did the bet for me, so I can be quiet and nobody knows. And then the ace flop. Now, had it come ace 8-9 of clubs, I would have had to bet my 3 aces. But because it didn't come like that, I could still remain silent, and then he hits 2 pair and he bets. That's what being stoic is having the confidence that my trip aces is good. And my gut instinct didn't really come into play. His gut instinct came in and said, "Oh, I got it with 2 pair. I flopped 2 pair." His gut instinct was, maybe I got aces, not trip aces. My gut instinct didn't need anything. My gut instinct, I guess, was just call. Like the lady has kings or queens, just call, because she made a pretty big bet, like $30 pre-flop. So I knew she had a big hand, but I got aces. So what's the difference? But I don't want to raise because I'd rather get 4 people in the pot. So if it's 20, 20, 20, and 20, I win $60 instead of raising her, and then I win 40, and then it's just one-on-one. This way I can win 3 or 4 times the amount by keeping 3 or 4 people in. So again, gut instinct in poker is very important. That's when it's really, you really have to, that's what they mean by feel, is I got a good hand and you made it $200. What does my gut instinct say I should do? Do I know I've won, or do I think I lost? And your gut instinct will be right 9 out of 10 times. There is a hand, I'm at MGM, and I think aces or kings. I think it was kings. So I bet like $30 pre-flop, and one guy called me, and then the flop comes like 5, 6, 10 or something, like two diamonds, and the guy, I don't know if I checked or bet, and the guy goes all in, and my gut instinct was, did this guy really hit two pair on me? Because I knew I should have it made, and he's up watching the TV. So now my gut instinct's like, well, wait a minute. He's looking at the TV, so he must have a good hand. But the way the bet was doesn't make sense. I have kings, and he's betting it unless he had aces, or I might have had aces. I didn't put him on aces. I said, did he hit two pair, or would he sixes? But if he played sixes and he hit trip sixes, would he go all in? So that didn't make sense. But he's looking up at the TV, which didn't make sense. So I ended up folding because I didn't know what my gut. So I never know what happened. And then I saw him either the next day or later, a couple hours later. He did the same thing. He made a big bet. He looked up and he was bluffing. And I said, I knew it. So I was right on my gut instinct. Did think my kings were good, but then I got the look up at the TV, which he probably maybe heard me talk and knew that if I saw him looking at the TV, I would think he's got a hand, which normally you do. Most people look up at the TV, but the flop didn't make sense that he, that the only thing he could have done was hit trips, but then he wouldn't have bet that way. If you got trips and I'm betting, you just let me bet. So that made no sense. Did he hit two pair? Maybe. Again, would you bet that way? So the bet didn't make sense for the flop that he hit trips. Then why would you bet that? So my guts, there was too many things in the gut instinct to really lead me on. But I said, well, I'll wait for an easier gut instinct, and I folded. But I think had I called him, I was right. And maybe he had queens or jacks and didn't think I was that strong. I don't know. And the problem I find when you have kings or queens and you check and the guy makes a big bet, you don't know what to do. But if you bet your kings or queens and show strength, then he probably just calls you versus checking and then they bet 200 and now you don't know what to do with your kings and queens. So you're better off betting something 30, 40, 50, and then he's not going to bluff you because you made the bet. He's going to either call or fold. Maybe if he raises, then you can get out. But if you check and he bets 200, you're fucked, right? You gotta fold. But if you bet 50, you got kings or queens or jacks, then he knows you've got a hand. He's not going to bluff you because the mentality is, if he bluffs, if you bet 50, let's say, I'm playing $2, you bet 50 that he knows you have a hand. How am I going to bluff a guy who bet 50? He's going to call me. The bluff works when you think the guy's got nothing to get him out, or a small hand that you think you can win it by bluffing him out. But if he's got a good hand, you're not going to be able to bluff him. He doesn't. So he's got to think, I can't bluff here. He's going to call me, right? That's what you're trying to do. If you got a decent hand, you're trying to make the bet, take away the bluff. Oh, he can't bluff me because he thinks I'm going to call him. That's why when I got pocket aces and I bet 30 or 40 and I get a call and it's heads up and then the flop comes and he checks on me, that's why I only raise it 30 or 40. And then most of the time, people that hit the set will check raise. And then I fold immediately. Now, if they don't check raise, then we got a hand because I know they maybe hit a pair, but I got aces. So that seems to happen a lot where I get the check raise, and normally I fold against the check raise because it's a really, so in other words, let's say he bet 40, I probably would call. I'm not going anywhere with aces. But if he hits the set, he's greedy and he's wanting to win a lot. So he checks and then he gets me to bet and then he raises thinking I won't go out because he thinks I got a big hand because I bet 30 or 40 pre-flop and then the flop comes and then I'm betting another 40. So he thinks I'm not going to fold. So that's why I know he's not bluffing because he's thinking I'm going to call and he hit the set. And I guarantee you he hit the set because he's not check raising because he's going to assume I'm going to fold or I'm not going to fold. So he's going to assume I got a big hand. I'm going to check raise him to get it. But by doing that, I'm not going anywhere. He thinks I'm not going anywhere because I got a big hand. So he thinks I got aces. So I'm going to check raise him because he won't fold. That's why I know it's not a bluff because he's not going to do it against my aces thinking I won't fold. So when I fold, I really confuse everybody. Now nobody knows what the fuck I'm doing. Was he bluffing? Nobody folds aces. Yeah, well, I do. And that's you live for a better situation, better opportunity. Again, that's the gut reaction of what you're doing. And that's really playing poker is that's how you kind of fake people out by looking strong, but you are strong, or looking weak and you are, or making the smart play. I got aces, I am strong. You check raise me, you probably have a set, I'm going to fold. Even though you're strong, you're playing the other player, you're not playing yourself. As I got into the Cincinnati Kid, like I said, the final hand, he plays his own cards instead of Edward G. Robinson's. He's got 8, 9, 10, queen of diamonds, and he pulls 5,000 out of his pocket. You've been playing with him 6 days. He's never done that before. The fuck do you think he's doing? Play his hand, put him on the jack, and wait for the next day. Don't sit there and fuck around with him. Yes, I know you got a full house. I know it's 5 card, but he could have the jack of diamonds. Just wait for the next hand when he doesn't have you on a cooler. Because that's what it's about. It's about surviving the one hand because you're beating his brains out on all the other hands. So, again, it's all the gut instinct. That's what you're trying to do. So the more you do things, the more you are with the girls, the more you're playing the poker, the more you're betting football, the more you're betting gold and stock or gold and silver, the more you're buying baseball cards, the more you do it, you build up a gut instinct. You build up seeing what happens. The more I watch football, especially in college, the more I know, no, Bo Nix is going to be a star. Daniels is going to be a star. But wait a minute, Drake May. Why would Drake May be a star? He didn't win any games at North Carolina. I mean, they lost to Clemson. They lost to NC State. They barely beat Duke. Why am I betting Drake May? All he does is throw balls up 50-50. Oh, he's got a big arm. Well, yeah, how many playoff games has Josh Allen won with the big arm? Like, that's supposed to be the key. Look at Justin Herbert, big arm. They don't do shit. So that to me is not the proper variable to look at. It's Penix beating Oregon twice and then beating Texas. That's the variable you look at. Bo Nix killing a lot of teams. All right, Washington had his number, but he beat a lot of good teams. It's Daniels beating Alabama the year prior. It's Stenson Benson winning 2 national championships. That's what you look at. And same thing with Hooker. Put up 50 on Alabama. He looked great in that game. Well, you don't want to give him a chance? You drafted him in the 3rd round. You're going to go with Goff, who looked like shit in his playoff games? See, that's really what I don't get is they're not looking at, he beat fucking Alabama scoring 50 points, and you're totally ignoring it like it doesn't count. And that's what I don't know what the hell you're doing because your gut instinct is he's a good quarterback. That's why you drafted him. Let him play. Oh, you don't do preseason. Well, you're fucking idiots. Play him in the first game. Play him when you got a 20-point lead. Get him out on the field. let him show you that he's the same quarterback that put 50 up on Alabama, which nobody does. Stenson Benson didn't do that. So that's really what you're looking at. Penix beats Texas, beats Oregon twice. Why isn't he the first quarterback drafted? Okay, Bo Nix, Daniels. Where are you getting Drake May, and where are you getting Caleb from? What did Caleb, he didn't beat anybody good. Got killed by Notre Dame. I know he got killed by UCLA. I don't think they beat Utah without rising. I mean, so what is it you're looking at with Caleb? Against the better teams, he didn't show up. He beat Colorado. Played well against Washington. I don't know if they played Oregon, but there was games that he just, they lost, 5-6 games? But you want to draft him because he's a great quarterback based on what? So I look at it as who you win. That's really the important stuff. Anyway, so all's good with Daria, thank God. And again, the gut instinct was correct, was what I thought. And, when I woke up, there was a nice explanation on the kid in school and Turkey and all this. And okay, fine. That's all I want. I says, I'm very detail oriented. If you would have just said that, I would have not got all excited. But because you're saying that, leads me to believe, now I start reading in between the lines. Now I start getting, my gut instinct says, oh, well, when a girl does that, she's not serious. She's just fucking around with me and she just wants rent. And, that's what I get is she's just not serious. But everything she told me didn't make sense that she would not want to meet. So, yeah, she definitely wants to meet. She just wants to meet in Russia. And I think that's doable. And then I'll have to figure things. I mean, how do I pay for things there? Can I use my debit and credit card there? Can I use my American dollars there? How do I pay for dinner? Now, fortunately, I'll be at her place, so I won't have a hotel. But let's say we want to go to the pool. Like I swim here every day. I want to go. I don't want to not swim for a month. So how do I do that? So it's a lot of stuff like that. Anyway, so I was very happy that she responded and explained, and now I feel like, yes, you're right. Your gut reaction was correct. You didn't understand it. Everything your gut instinct told you was right, because being the INFJ, your gut instinct is usually very, very accurate. That's how I pick football so well. My gut instinct helps me to the team. And when the bell rings and okay, I like this team. When that happens, you're right there with it. So anyway, no questions. Okay. So I don't know. Saturday afternoon. Where's Bobby? Greg and John, Nick, Luke. All right. The boys are out busy. What's going on? I guess it's President's Day Monday, so I guess the banks will be closed. I love how my apartment's closed. Like, why are you closed for President's Day? Like, really? Very strange. Anyway, otherwise, not much else going on. I'll try to figure out prices to get inflation for all that. We'll see. And outside of that, have a good afternoon. I will see you tomorrow about noon, 11:30. Well, about 11, because they closed the pool at 4:30. Today, the pool is open until 6:30. Will I go get Chinese? I don't know. I'm debating. Usually what happens is I cook yesterday, and then today I don't want to cook, right? It's normally football, and I go get Chinese. So I'll see. I'll probably get Chinese, or I can pick up barbecue. Normally I don't go on Saturday. Saturday I go get Chinese because she's closed Sunday. But I could get barbecue today, but then I can't get Chinese tomorrow. But it's always a nice treat getting the barbecue chicken. I went to the Coney Island yesterday, and then I'll end. And so I get the hamburgers like 6 something still, and then the fries are like $2.90 now. And but she wants to charge me. I said, how much are onion rings? She says $2.90 or $3.90. And I look at it and I see the onion, but the menu says $3.79. This is what, there's a mistake. She says, well, they raised the prices. Well, I said, I'm paying what the menu says. So if you ever go to a grocery store and on the shelf it says lemons 69 cents, and then you get to the cashier and they want to charge you 99, they can't. Legally, they have to charge you what it says on the sticker, lemon 69 or ketchup 99. They got to charge you those prices. So just an FYI. All right, I am going to eat and then going to swim and probably getting Chinese or barbecue. All right, everybody, have a great day. www.teaserking.com. I'm looking into my history. I had a fabulous year, so hope you made money on it. And that's about it. So www.teaserking.com. Otherwise, listen to your gut instinct. I was 100% correct with Daria, but it does bother me when I don't hear from her or when I get this kind of lack of communication memo. It kind of bothers me. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.